You don't get the show.
So now that we've gone on this tirade, as I was the one that brought up in the last episode to get people triggered, I got something. I got my hands on something, and I know we wanted to mention shit like because we will try to get this up before Thanksgiving or at least before Black Friday.
Right.
But to trigger everybody out there, yes, I was one of the lucky fools that was able to get his hands on one of these motherfuckers. And in case y'all can't see, yes, this is an NES Classic Edition. And even more so, I was able to get my hands on the motherfucking controller, which is even harder to find than the NES Classic. And my story for this bitch is, if this isn't a Black Friday-ish type of story. So I was on my medical leave for my knee. And it came out November 11th, I think it was. And at first I was sitting there thinking, oh, cool. It's a Friday. It's in the week. I'll probably be able to go early enough. And I won't have to stand out too long in line, and I'll get it. And then shit started kicking in. It's like, oh, shit, that's Veterans Day, so a lot of people are going to be off work. You know, and up here in Boston, like, a lot of people have the Monday through Friday 9 to 5. So it's like, so they're going to be off, and, like, you know, there's going to be a bunch of, like, people that want to get it that are going to be off. So I'm like, okay, so I'm going to have to get up early to do it. And my first thought was, I'll go to Best Buy and buy it. And I started looking online, like, at least through the website. They never, like, opened up the pre-orders to it. So apparently they said, like, oh, we're not going to open up pre-orders until, like, the day they come out and this and that. So there were mullings rolling around that, oh, yeah, you'll be able to pick them up in store. Oh, actually, we won't have them in store because they're pulling all that inventory just for the online orders. So my idea was, oh, I'll go to Best Buy. I'll probably end up finding it. But you never know. So here in my town where I live, there happens to be a Best Buy and a Target in the same shopping center. So I said, well, I'm pretty sure Target's going to get it. I said, I could always go there. And then I'm like, wait a minute, what time does Target open? And I look, Target opens up at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I'm like, well, I could probably get there, you know, I can get up around 7:15-ish and head on out there. Like, you know, just to see if I can get it. I'm like, if I can get my hands on one, cool. That way I could just come home, go back to sleep, and don't even have to worry about getting up and going out there. So I pull my car up, get to the Target. There's probably, I see 10 people in line. So I'm like, oh, there's only 10 people in line. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get one through Target. Freaking go. And as I'm like hobbling my ass from my car up to the line, I realize, oh, like, you know how Target has those like double doors, like the outer door and the inner door? I realize the outer door is open and the line's going into the Target itself. Oh. And I'm like, oh shit, this line is a lot longer than I thought it was. So I'm like, fuck it. I get in line and I'm like, let's see what happens. The manager comes out and she's like, hey, just to like let you guys know, this is how, you know, I'm going to tell you guys what I told the guys in the front, that once we open the doors at 8, we're going to all, like, in a file, go to the back, and we'll have the merchandise there, and we'll bring you guys out, you know, one per person. And if you want to purchase anything else in the electronics department that's, like, locked up, you're going to have to, like, wait till we go through the line, and then we'll be able to ring you out for that. So we're all standing there in line, and, like, a couple of people behind me, they're like, well, I guess this means that they have enough for everybody because she hasn't said anything as far as, like, you know, hey, we're not going to have enough for everybody. So apparently as she was walking in, somebody up towards the front was like, hey, so how many do you actually have? And she kind of does one of those like, oh, you know what? Let me find out. and goes inside. And then all of a sudden she comes out and she's like, so, hey, guys, just to let you know, we only got about 27 or so of them. And we're like, okay. And she's
stabbing each other. Yeah. Oh, wait, that ain't Miami. That's not Miami, so it's okay.
So then it's like, oh, okay, so how many people do we have in line? So then she's like, I'm going to start counting. So she goes in and she's like, starts counting. And I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, the quicker she comes back out, the less people we know there are indoors.
You try to count yourself?
Yeah, so we're sitting there and I'm like, I'm waiting. And I'm like, she hasn't shown back up. I'm like, this is not a good sign. So she starts, and then finally we see her come out and she's like, tick, 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 tick. And literally like 6 people in front of me, she's like, okay, this is where 27 is. And I'm like, shit. But, like, then they, like, she goes back in. She's like, I'm going to recount. And then like a different guy came out, I guess that worked in the electronics department. And he's like, hey, we actually have like 29 of them. So I was still like about 5 people short. And he let everybody know. He says, however, there are people in line that it's couples, but the couples have said only one of them wanted to buy it. However, if the other person that's with that person that's buying it says, I want one, we have to sell it to them because they were in line as well. So I'm like, so this can potentially go from 4 people in front, you know, I'm missing out by 4 people to I'm going to miss out by 7 or 8 people. So I was like, well, Target is a bust. I'm like, I'm going to have to come to the Best Buy. So I'm sitting there like thinking like, well, I can go home, I can eat breakfast. This is like literally like around 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, oh, I can go home, I can eat breakfast. I'll come back by 9. And then I'm like looking at the line and I'm like, there's about at least 10 to 12 people here that are in this line that are not going to get one. And I said, more than likely, these fuckers are going to go over to the Best Buy. So I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm like, I'm just going to go to the Best Buy now. So in my whole, like, deciding, like, do I do this, do I not? Like, a couple of people that were at the back end of the line just left, and they literally drove over, and they sat out in front of the Best Buy. So I went right away afterwards. I'm like, I hobbled my ass to my car. Luckily, I had one of my, like, camping chairs in my car, and I went out there and sat my ass down. I was number 3 in line. At 8 o'clock in the morning in front of a fucking Best Buy that opened up at 10 o'clock in the morning. And it was funny.
I was just saying that maybe that made you feel young for waiting out in front of the line for a video game, but you were hobbling and sitting in a camping chair, so I would guess no is the answer.
Yeah, no, it was one of those, like, I'm sitting there in my chair going, this is fucking ridiculous, you know? And which is and I'll mention this after the fact, like, remind me to touch back on this as far as, like, Best Buy and everything. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, as long as these motherfuckers have at least 3 of those things in there, I'm getting one. I'm like, if they only have 2, I'm going to be pissed. You know? So we're sitting there, and it's probably around 9 o'clock in the morning. And one of the managers opens the front door to let out the one of the guys from the Geek Squad that was heading out to do like an at-home installation. He sees this line of about 15 people out in front of the store and just looks at us and does one of those like, what are y'all here for? And we're all like, for the NES Mini? And he kind of does one of those, oh. And the way that he did the oh, it was like, oh, as in you don't have any and you don't know why these people are standing out here, you know? So we see him go inside, and like everybody in line is like, the guy next to me that was 4th in line, he's like, man, they better fucking have some. Or at least if they don't have some, they better come out here and tell us like, hey, we don't have any to sell.
They just troll you, don't say shit.
Yeah, you know? So all of a sudden, the guy comes out maybe like 15 minutes later, has a stack of papers, and he's like, cool, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to give out tickets, and then just come in, you hand your ticket over. Like, it'll be good for an hour. After that, we're just opening it up to sales for people. So then, like, one of the guys is like, how many do you have? He's like, yeah, we got like 35 of them. So it was enough to cover everybody in line. And then we had like maybe, I want to say 4 or 5 people that came back. So the funny thing is, there were people in our line that got one at Target as well. So either they were getting one for themselves and getting one for somebody else, or they got theirs at Target and were flipping the one that they were getting at Best Buy. It's funny because I saw a guy and his girlfriend/wife, they were in line at Target and were gonna get one. They were way up, like right up against the door. And then I saw them in line at the Best Buy, and I saw the guy give a ticket to the guy and give a ticket to the woman, and I'm like, these motherfuckers are flipping these shits. I'm like, I'm pretty sure they were one of the couples that at first they said, no, we're going to get one, and then all of a sudden said, like, nope, we'll get 2, you know? But it was funny because there was a couple of people that had come over, and it was an older couple. They went to the Target, they got one, they came back, and they were like, yep, we got one for, like, our son, and we're getting this one for our friend who has a son that wants one, but she couldn't come out to the line. And the guy sat there and said, he's like, the thing that's ridiculous is they had 29 NES Minis at Target, had 3 controllers, 3 spare controllers.
Oh.
At Best Buy, when the guy hands out the 35 things, one of the guys in line says, hey, how many controllers do you guys have? He's like, 6. So it was like funny because I was sitting there going, well, and I had been contemplating, like, do I get an extra controller? Do I not? I don't know. I'm like, well, fuck, if there's only 6 of them and I'm 3 in line, I'm buying this bastard. I'm like, because worst case scenario, if I really don't need it or don't want it, I can flip it and sell it, you know? And it was ridiculous, like ridiculous how low amounts of these things are. We're standing in line 8:30 in the morning. Guy number 4 in line goes to Amazon and eBay. There's people already flipping these fucking things for $250, $300, $500 on fucking eBay and Amazon.
Holy shit.
My wife shows up at like 9:35 or so, 9:40, and they had already run out of tickets, and she's like, shit, if I would have known, I would have gotten here earlier and gotten a ticket. We would have flipped one of those things. I'm like, well, too late now, you know? But my, like, trigger thing is, other than showing the fact that I have one, and it is a fucking amazing thing. However, people that wonder, yes, it does have a bit of input lag. So it's kind of like still hooking up an old NES to a modern television to play it. That you'll have, I mean, it's definitely, because I have hooked up my Nintendo to my HDTV and played it. The input lag is less, but not enough that, like, I find myself, like, I'll hit the jump button, like, especially playing Mega Man 2, and I'll fall off the edge, and I'm like, what the fuck? And, you know, it's especially with games like that where you had to fucking, like, time the fucking jumps precisely.
Yeah.
So, it's still enough input lag that my old-ass reactions are still not enough that I'm, like, relearning how to fucking input it for the input lag. But as far as, like, the way that it looks amazing, like, especially the pixel perfect mode. Looks beautiful. What amazes me about it, which is really, really cool, it has an HDMI port and it has a mini USB connector. A mini USB connector, what's interesting, they give you the cable in it and they give you a little power brick, but if your TV has a USB port on the back of it, you can actually plug it directly into the TV and it draws the power from the TV to power the NES Mini, which is pretty cool. If there are only 2 like things I have to knock about it, that we would ring the shame bell for, like we would walk Nintendo naked through the city ringing the bell saying shame. Number 1, shame on you, Nintendo, for releasing such little amounts of them. Like, you do every system to keep the demand high, and you get these goddamn people that freaking price gouge the fuck out of them for honest people and gamers that want to get your systems. Stop doing this. Stop. For crying out loud. I know this is probably a Japanese thing that they're like, oh, we're going to make sure we keep the demand up. Stop it. It's fucking works, but god damn it, you don't understand the pain it is as a gamer. And I'm sure as a parent to have to fucking stand 3 hours in line in the motherfucking cold to try and get your new system. And then you end up being the one fucking first person that they say, sorry, we're out of systems. Okay, I worked at a GameStop when the fucking Wii came out, and I had a dozen people waiting in front of my store when we got a shipment of 6 of them, and I had to sit there, and this is in Miami, I had to sit there and go out and say, I got 6 systems, so the first 6 people are getting them, and then literally sit there and watch, because
it turned into the Hunger Games.
Well, no, the thing that was funny is they really weren't in any line. I said, I need you guys to line up in the order that you got here, and then the fucking arguments started happening, started to happen. It got a little bit worse. And then I fucking said, if y'all don't get in line in the exact order that you came in and don't agree upon it, nobody's getting a fucking system. I'll lock my door and I ain't selling them. And that's when they finally, the 6 people got in line and the troublemakers left. You know? Because they knew the 6 people that were first there knew who they were, and they were going to beat the shit out of the other 6. You know? Or whoever was going to be the dumbasses that try and say, like, no, I was here first. You know? The only other thing that I swear to God is ridiculous, and every single person, I realize now I didn't bring it here to show you, but look up any review on it, is how ridiculously short the cord on the controller is. When I say ridiculously short, you're talking not even 2.5 feet long.
Damn.
So it's 20, I think it was like 23 or 21 inches long. Like literally, you have people that have like webcams like ours, and they'll stretch the cord out, and you can literally see the controller and the cord in the frame of the actual of the thing.
That's so they can sell extenders.
Well, no. So here's the thing. So they actually questioned Nintendo why they made the cord so short. And it's because the way that the NES Mini works is you got your power switch and your reset button works. Power switch turns it on, it goes through the whole boot cycle, and it gives you the menu. Once you select a game and you're in a game, the only way to get back to that menu is you have to go and actually hit the reset button on the console. And then it brings you back to the main menu, and that's where you can save your games and stuff like that. So their whole reasoning is that, oh, you still have to interact with the console itself to get back to the menu because there's no buttons on the controller that bring up the menu. And that was their reasoning for the short cords. And literally every single like reviewer and all that does their thing where they're not actually talking to them. They're like, Nintendo, I will get my ass up off the couch and walk up to the TV and hit the reset button when I need to access the menu. He's like, I'm not fucking 13 years old where I can sit Indian style 2 feet from the television to play a Nintendo anymore. I mean, they're like, one of the guys is like, my ass is old. I need to sit in the couch, motherfuckers. You know, but that to me has been the biggest gripe. And the funny thing is, like you said, oh yeah, they could sit there and sell extension cords. Problem is, Nintendo doesn't make extension cords for them. Everybody else does. So in reality, they're not making any extra money by making the cord that short. It's going into the pockets of other companies, you know. But as far as do the games look amazing? Yes. Are all the 30 games that are in it really good? That's big to say. I wouldn't say all of them are classics. But it's nice to have some of the ones that they have. Like, it's interesting to see, like what one of the guys said, it's like an interesting choice of the games that they put in there. And they wonder why they didn't pick other ones, like kind of like DuckTales, like Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers. Of course, they talk into the whole, like, it's probably because they didn't want to pay the licensing to get those games. A, from Disney, and B, from Capcom. Because that's an interesting thing, is there's certain third-party games there. Like, they work things out with Squeenix, as we call it nowadays, to get like the original Final Fantasy onto it and stuff like that. And then other people are like, oh, this is just a ploy for them. Like, they just want to see how this thing's going to sell, and they'll probably come out with either a second NES Classic, or they'll come out with like a Super Nintendo Classic or whatever. But for God's sakes, if you guys do fucking come out with more than like 30 per store when you initially do it, Jesus Christ. Which, this is what's funny, is it's making everybody freak out about what the availability of the Switch is going to be when it comes out. You know, they're like, you know, they knew people were going to want this shit, and look at how they fucked everyone over. Or how the fuck do we think that the Switch is going to happen?
It sounds like it's working as intended.
I mean, yeah, it's if you look at it, Nintendo's always done this shit with whatever system they've come out with. And it always keeps the demand for the system super high for a very long time. You know? And it's kind of like if you look at it in Apple with the iPhone, like the demand gets up. I mean, trust me, from somebody that works in a retail store, they manufacture as many as they can, and they can never really meet the demand of them. And it's one of those things, like, they manufacture the fuck out of them until they can catch up with the demand and all that. But, like, at least a company like Apple, like, once they're like, we're making these phones, like, they're cranking them bitches out as many as they can, as fast as they can. Nintendo, it almost seems like, all right, we got a high demand. We're like, we'll do about 400. Let's just see how those sell. You don't have to guess. Let's see. Those fuckers are going to sell. Crank them out. You know, I don't know if it's that old school mentality of they're like afraid of, oh, we're going to come out with 500 and oh shit, 100 of them are sitting on the shelf and they're not moving. But dude, it's been like, the original Nintendo should have been the one to show you guys, oh, people are interested in it. They should not have kept that such a short supply since then.
See, I thought she was going to go old school, and you're going to keep that NES Classic, wrap it up, put it under the tree, and wait till Christmas.
Fuck that. My wife was like, yeah, so this is like your birthday present. Like, you're going to wait till then to open up? I'm like, fuck no, I got to make sure this thing works first. And I'm like, and once I make sure it works, we might as well just leave it out.
Right? That's logic. What I'm talking about.
But
By
I
the
will
way,
say this. Well,
no, look, go ahead.
I was gonna say the real thing that's kind of like cool with this little thing though is the video options that it gives you, which is really neat. So it gives you 3 different video options. They have a 4x3, which looks like the old style, like when you played it on the TV. You have the 4x3 with a CRT filter, which all it does is it almost like it puts like fake scan lines in, so it looks like an old CRT monitor, which looks hilarious. And then they have what's called pixel perfect mode, which if you have a 16:9 TV, it kind of like does like it squishes it up so it's more like a vertical. It almost looks like if you're watching one of those like iPhone videos where they recorded straight up instead of left to right. It kind of looks more like that. But the clarity on this fucking thing is unfucking believable. Like you look at it, you're like, God damn, this thing looks sweet. Like I almost want to take screenshots and send it to you so like you could put the shit up so you could see them. Like it's unfucking believable how amazing this thing looks, and it runs really fast.
If anyone is interested in winning Randy's NES Classic, just send genitalia pics to his cell phone, and whoever sends the best one will win it.
Shit, this bitch is staying in the house with a lock and key. All right. I bought a motherfucking fire safe with a fucking combination and a key lock to close this bitch up at night. So if anybody wants to break into my house and try and steal the fucking thing, they can't.
You can get everything else except the classic.
Like, fuck it, it's fireproof and everything. Like, let this building burn to the ground. I'll be outside with the fireman going, "Hey, I need you to dig up that safe out of the rubble."